cut a groove about an inch deep with a masonry saw blade into the brick. I like to come up about 5.5 inches and cut that line along the side of the fireplace. Sometimes I'll rip a piece of lumber the size that I want it, and use that for a guide, and then run my grinder along there to make that cut up the slope of the roof. But I'll usually mark the sides of the roof first, and then I'll put a straight edge across here and connect the two side cuts. And up at the top, basically, we got to do that all the way around the fireplace. Sometimes the masons will put this counter flashing in for you, and they'll stair step it. They'll mortar it right into the brick when they're laying the brick, and they'll stair step that counter flashing back in their mortar and down alongside the brick, and then you won't have to saw it. Sometimes if you got a regular stone too, that's about the only way you can do it. They'll lay block up through the roof, flash the block, and then take off with their stone. Their stone's sometimes so irregular that you can't really saw a stone and make this system work. But the one we're going to demonstrate we're going to install the counter flashing in this saw cut. We're going to start at the bottom of the fireplace and put this piece on across the front here first. Now, here's the material that I made up to use for the counter flashing. Now, I bent this with a siding brake, and I got a kick on that goes on the fireplace like this. There's a hook with a lip on it here that goes in that saw cut. It comes down the face of the fireplace, and I put this little kick on the bottom. That's not necessary, but it helps make this bottom stay straight, and it makes a little neater looking job. This hook comes up and it goes in about 3/4, and then it's got a bend around it here about 3/8 of an inch. And when I tap that in the saw cut in the fireplace chimney, it's going to lock the top of that flashing in place and hold it in place there. Now, if you don't have a brake, or you don't have someone that can bend that up for you, you can just, with a straight edge, you can just make a simple L piece of flashing and put that in the saw cut. But it's a little harder. I mean, we're going to seal this saw cut up with a good quality caulk, but the other piece I've got, it's a little harder. You can see if any water would hit this lip and try and get past our caulk, then it's got to get up and it's got to get around the top of this hook to get in behind our flashing. So I like this better, but this is a possible option that you can use for material. One of the other things I like to do before I put this first piece on here is I'm going to get my sealing tape out here, and I like to put a piece of sealing tape on this base flashing here, and what I like to do with that is I like to get it right up to the bottom of our saw cut, and I'll put it on here like that. That outside corner right up to the bottom of our saw cut. I've cut a piece of our counter flashing material here, and I cut it basically to go by the corner an inch, and then I'm going to bend that 1 inch of that counter flashing around the corner. So to do that, I have to notch this bottom kick off of here, and I put a small cut in here about 3/4. This lines up to where I'm going to bend it. And I also took the hook flange off back about another 3/4 inch, because I'm going to run that next piece over the top of that. So then I want to try and bend this. I'm going to just lay a straight edge on there and bend that up. Go around the corner. On our demonstration here, we've used all aluminum components when we assembled this flashing, and you need to be a little careful here. Sometimes you'll see some copper or galvanized steel that's used for roof flashings, and you don't want to mix the three metals. They're not compatible, and it can cause some corrosion to start, and and ruin the lifespan of your flashing. So if you start building one of these out of aluminum, you want to use all aluminum or whatever metal you start with. We recently started making our corner flashing shingles out of copper, so they are available if you have a project that you need some copper ones for. And that basically holds this on there for us. We don't have to really put any fasteners or anything on there. I'm going to bend this little tab down. You could. I think I'll just cut that off. Now here again, I like to take a piece of sealing tape here now on just this 1-inch flange before we put our next piece on there, and put it on top of that 1-inch flange. Cut the bottom of it, kind of to go with the roof here. And I'm going to stick that right on that 1-inch flange I bent around there like that, and you know, that's running right up to our saw groove in our brick right away. And then we're ready to put our next piece on up the side here. I'm going to hold this side piece of counter flashing, just kind of hold it up there where it needs to go. And mark that corner. And come up on top here right away and mark the wall on the back side of it there for length. And I'm going to just cut this off a straight cut. Now here again, I'm going to cut this 1 inch long, and we'll end up bending the flange over again, you know, around the top corner. So I got this piece cut to length here. It's basically just going to stop flush with the corner, and I notched it like we did the first piece, so there's about a 1-inch lip that's going to go around the top up there. And you want to get that groove started, lined up and started. You're going to tap that in with a wood block again.